one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
School board recall efforts are surging across the nation. In this video, we're going to take a look at the massive backlash of parents against critical race theory with more recall efforts than we've ever seen. You're going to have a chance to tell us what you think in the comments, and stick with me to the very end of the video where I reveal precisely what's really behind this epidemic of CRT that's trying but failing to infiltrate our schools. You're not going to want to miss this. Greetings, everyone. Dr. Steve with you. Wonderful to be with you. As always, we are your daily fake news antidote. As each and every day, I provide patriotic analysis to help you to think better so you can feel better in these crazy and turbulent times. So if you haven't already done so, you know what to do. Make sure to smack that bell and subscribe. But before we jump into things here, let's give a huge shout out to the sponsor of this video. And that is the makers of this beautiful, this awesome, this totally cool fighter flare flashlight. You're going to love this one. One of the best things that you can invest in for your protection when the lights go out is this 6-in-1 beauty, which comes with a 3000 mAh solar-powered recharging battery, equipped with a high and low beam light that you can see from miles away. It has an emergency strobe light, it's got a compass, it's got a wire and rope cutter, it's got an emergency glass breaker hammer, and it's got a high-powered military-grade magnet. It's absolutely awesome. And best of all, if you click on that link below right now, you're going to get 20% off the regular price. So don't wait. Supply is limited. Click on that link below and get your super awesome fighter flare flashlight today. All right, gang, let's dive right in here. Parents across the nation are fighting back against CRT, or critical race theory, in the form of an unprecedented number of school board recalls, most especially, if you can believe it, in the ultra blue state of California. Now, for some background to all this, you definitely want to watch my video on the recent school board elections in Southlake, Texas. You will definitely want to watch that video, okay? It was a Texas school board election that scored an overwhelming victory to stop critical race theory from being forced into Texas classrooms. The elections in Southlake actually involved the mayor, they involved the city council, they involved the school board, and every single candidate that supported and campaigned on critical race theory lost with 70% of the vote. It was an absolute slaughter at the ballot box. You're going to absolutely love that video. And that victory is clearly inspiring like-minded organizations to spring up all over the nation. According to a report by Axios, at least 51 local recall efforts have been initiated throughout the country to oust pro-CRT school boards, which are targeting at least 130 elected members to those boards. Now, according to Ballotpedia, those 51 recall efforts are actually double the annual average of recalls. We only see about 23 per year, and we're only at the halfway mark throughout this year, and we've already seen double that. By year's end, we could easily be seeing 300, 400% increase in recall efforts throughout the country. A number of organizations have been formed to muster a counteroffensive against CRT. In Pennsylvania, parents recently formed the Keeping Kids in School PAC, which is backing school board candidates in dozens of school districts in dozens of counties. In Brevard County, Florida, an organization called Moms for Liberty is taking the fight to their local school districts. And even in far-left San Francisco, the refusal by their school boards to open up their schools is driving a parent-led effort to recall 3 of 7 school board members. And this reference to San Francisco actually points to a wider recall trend throughout California. As it turns out, it's not just the governor there, Newsom, right, that's getting recalled. All told, over 20 school boards are facing recall efforts, with Arizona and Idaho following behind with 6 and 4 respectively. Again, by way of comparison, there are now more recall efforts in California going on right now as we speak than there were the whole of last year nationally. And of course, this is reigniting the debate as to whether California, which has up until now been considered the bluest of blue states, this is reigniting considerations to whether California really is ripe to turn red. This, of course, has been the conclusion of a number of pundits who've noticed that California is exemplifying the very same trends that have contributed to a massive populist uprising that we're seeing not just throughout the nation, but indeed throughout the world. Now, the key to this uprising is that the traditional loyalties towards party and ideology are waning, and they're giving rise to something much bigger, indeed potentially bigger than anything we've ever seen before politically. As we talk so much about this on the channel, but we're moving away from an ideological paradigm of politics, conservative versus progressive, towards a new politics that's more characterized by a very deep suspicion between the people and our political class, our ruling elite, who are seen as ruling for their own benefit at the expense of the people they claim to represent. And so these parents are feeling more and more like they're being ruled by their school boards rather than represented. Right? They're being ruled rather than represented. And California residents, more than any other state in the union by far, are rising up and pushing back against this sense of being ruled. And so it's no coincidence that there's been a massive, all these rallies throughout California protesting, for example, the extreme COVID lockdown measures. And to that, we can add the enormous successes that the GOP has had of late in California congressional races just this past November, when the GOP picked up 4 House seats. And these really stunning victories had the California GOP leaders talking about a major comeback after years of teetering on the brink of extinction in California. So this is clearly unprecedented stuff going on here. And speaking of unprecedented, you will definitely want to check out a video I did on the explosive school board meetings in Loudoun County, Virginia, okay? You're going to see parents absolutely explode over there. In fact, they started singing the national anthem and up forcing the school board to basically run away and hide. They called the cops on them. It's crazy. You got to check out the video. It's all there. Well, now a new group called Fight for Schools has organized to recall school board members that support CRT in Loudoun. And in Wisconsin, 4 of 7 members of the McNown-Thiesville School District are being subject to recall as well. We could literally go on and on. If CRT advocates thought that they were going to be able to inconspicuously indoctrinate K-12 children as shockingly pernicious racist ideology, they've certainly gotten a rude awakening of late for sure. Now, what's happening here, I think, is very clear. We are all in the middle of a culture war for the very heart and soul of our nation. Pat Buchanan recognizes back in 1992 at the Republican National Convention in Houston. Do you remember this?
There is a religious war going on in this country. It is a cultural war as critical to the kind of nation we shall be as the Cold War itself. But this war is for the soul of America.
This is a battle for the soul of America. We had patriots like Pat Buchanan recognizing what was happening to our nation over 30 years ago. And he mentioned the Soviet Union, the Cold War. And again, we've talked about this before, but we simply cannot overestimate how significant it is that the old Cold War world is disintegrating. It's breaking up, it's fracturing, like the Soviet Union itself. And we're increasingly balkanizing into what the French sociologist Michel Maffesoli predicted back in the 1970s and 80s, which is something he called neo-tribalism. Neo-tribalism is the notion that the world is slowly but surely reorganizing around racial and ethnic identities. So with the inevitable death of liberal globalism, the world is basically fracturing, okay? The world is breaking up and populations are increasingly reorganizing themselves around their own shared identity markers, such as nation, culture, custom, but also ethnicity and race. And this is exactly what we're seeing here with the rise of BLM and CRT and cultural Marxism. This is all ultimately about reinventing our nation in accordance with these neo-cultural, neo-Marxist terms, and that's why parents are rising up and fighting back. As Victor Davis Hanson said recently, we are an extremely tolerant people. We're willing to tolerate all sorts of nonsense coming from the left. But when you demand that we have to give up our country, that's it. You've crossed the line, and that is what's happening here. These parents are collectively saying enough is enough, and they are organizing to stop CRT and this insidious cultural Marxism once and for all. Now, before you go, you will definitely want to check out my latest video I just uploaded on how the woke U.S. women's soccer team got absolutely crushed just after kneeling to BLM. You're not going to want to miss it. So make sure to click on the link, and I'll see you over there. God bless.